He's obsessed, he's adored, yeah, it's borderline insane. But love's a man.
Hi garden friends, it has been a while. It has been a full turn of the wheel since I last posted something on YouTube. I have been sharing some content on Instagram, so you may have seen some of the things that I've been up to. Even though I've been away from kind of the long form videos, I just found it was really difficult to keep that schedule and that type of diary. But at the same time, I don't think I've necessarily been getting the right level of fulfillment from posting short videos. I guess I kind of like to talk and ramble. Anyways, you might not be interested in any of that, and that's okay. But the last time I was in the garden was late winter of last year. And I was doing some stuff in the driveway. Now, just because I haven't posted anything, like the garden is completely different. I've managed to change some structures, some pathways. Went on a little bit of a health journey as well, which is good. So some of the time that I was spending in the garden during my filming, I was actually out exercising, which has been great. No regrets. But I wanted to kind of share this year in particular because I feel like I've achieved quite a few personal milestones. One of the ones that I was most excited to try, but also terrified on, was being mostly about 80% dependent on seed starting for my perennials and annuals. And I've had some successes and I've also had some failures. And yeah, so I'm gonna stop rabbiting on because we'll be here forever. And this is the boring bit. So I'm gonna turn my camera around and I'm gonna take you through the garden and you can tell me what you think. So you can kind of see the shape that is taking place here. But one of the things that I'm most excited about is actually the Acer. I can never remember the name of this one, but when we got it, this was just a little tiny thing and it's absolutely huge. And the foliage is just incredible. Look at that. That's stunning. And if you want to talk about how much this has grown this year, it's grown from here to here. So it's already put on about 3 feet of new growth this year. Isn't that stunning? You can see some of the euphorbia. This is going to get probably about 4 feet taller because it does get as tall as the fence. So that's looking really good. I'll need to stake it at some point. And I've tried to make a bit more space here for planting. So I'm slowly adding those plants in along there. And you can also see that this Acer is doing really well. I did come in late winter and I pruned through a lot of it and I was worried I took too much, but actually it's perfect now. Now, if you don't know and if you haven't seen videos previously, this is what I call my coastal woodland garden. So there's probably about 60 trees in this back section and they're all slightly different. So I'll kind of take you through some of the ones that stand out for me, if I can remember the names, because I'm getting fuzzier and fuzzier with all the plant names. So you can kind of see this one here is starting to bloom. Look how beautiful this is. That's stunning. So this is going to be covered in beautiful yellow panicles. And I can't remember the name of this one. I'll put it on the screen or it'll come back to me. It's not a liriodendron. I'll come back to it. Oh, a laburnum. It's a laburnum, is what that is. And then we've got a blue spruce, the ginkgo biloba. This is looking better than it's ever looked. It's been in the garden for a few years now, but eventually this will be a lovely, nice kind of golden spire. I did make the decision to prune this up into a ball so that I had more space for some of the perennials that I planted, and I'm slowly working through filling up this entire bed. And I'm really excited because I've tried lupin for the first time. So these look like they're actually doing something. I was worried about the slugs, but this year, I don't want to say too much, but I've really got the slugs under control, I think. Some poppies are coming in. Some of the plants that we've put in here, you'll just have to wait and see what they look like, but I'm really excited. And also, I kind of lost track of my planting schedule. So although I know what I'm growing, I don't really know what it's going to look like. So there's a bit of fun in that. This Acer starfish is looking incredible. It has put on a little bit of new growth, but I'm really enjoying the red foliage, and it has a little bit more shade this year, I think. So hopefully it won't get as crispy, and I will try to stay on top of the watering. My David Austin Poet's Wife, even though I have pruned this rose back, it's absolutely covered in buds. This is a phenomenal rose, and the fragrance is just stunning. But it's kind of currently growing through my Tibetan red cherry, and I actually kind of like that look because you can see the red stems coming through. So I'm really excited. I'll share with you what this looks like a bit later. And we've got a few more trees in this section. So there's a Chamaecyparis Nicole here. And then we've got a Taxodium distichum here, which is a weeping bald cypress, if I'm not mistaken. I want to do a little bit of work on staking that up, and it'll just kind of cascade down when I get its final height in. And this is a sweet gum tree. I can never remember the Latin name for this. This was a late autumn edition, and the star foliage is just stunning. This will grow as a pillar. It'll get quite tall, and I just really love the leaf contrast. And this is going to be the best year for the June berries are absolutely covered. But if you can kind of turn this way, this woodland border here, this is my most established border. Now, I do have some other trees along the back here. They're not fully grown up, so we don't quite have that tiered level, but it's looking really good. You can see some of the shrubs here. So the Pittosporum is looking great. I want to get some more of those. And you can also see here how good this cedar is looking. Absolutely stunning, even though it's a little wonky, but that's okay. And then if you come further into the woodland garden, so this is where you saw me sitting, I'm going to have a fantastic year for digitalis. So the digitalis that I've got, kind of seed-wise, I've just kind of thrown them everywhere. They're looking really good. I also have some red campion that's kind of volunteered itself from the front garden, but I absolutely love it growing through here. And the acers, so there are two here, so Orange Dream and Butterfly. Butterfly will always stay a bit smaller. The Orange Dream should fill up and get much bigger. I thought I lost both of these. They've come back really strong. I'm very excited. And whilst it's not in bloom right now, the Brennera is looking so good and the best it's ever looked. I'm just absolutely really thrilled with this section here. And I've got some other wonderful magical things in here that you can't really tell. So I'm just going to zoom in so that you can see. So there's some Lily of the Valley, which has a wonderful fragrance, also incredibly poisonous. And there's also some other things in here as well. There are some violas. I think the variety that I have is called Freckles. And I think I saw some blooming. Don't know if you can see. Sorry. Just there, just a little bit. It's just nice to know that it's there, even though I don't really notice it. Still an absolute menace. I've also tried hostas. I've always wanted to kind of add some. I know they're a little basic and boring, but I do love the blue color. And it's kind of difficult to get some of the blue color in shade. So I have a couple of hosta varieties. I can't remember the name of this one, but I can tell you that this one in the back is Albuquerque drinking gourd, and it was one clump that I've divided into four. There's one over here. This one I think is called Ceylon, and I can't remember the name, but I just love if I step back. Look at this like beautiful foliar texture. Isn't that nice? And then this is another Acer. So this is a weeping variety called Ryusin. So this one's looking really good. It's really liking its home here. I need to stay on top of the watering. And I've just done an iron feed for my red bud. So you can see that this will start kind of coloring up to a beautiful shade of red. The actual Tulipifera liriodendron is doing really well. It's probably put on about 3 or 4 feet of growth since we put it in, and it's looking stunning. And eventually, some of this tree will come out to make space for this. I've also got some myrtles. I did plant this tree here, which is a, oh goodness, what is the name of this plant? Let me think. This plant is, um, I can't remember the name of it. Persian silk tree, and this is the red variety, the chocolate variety, and it's died. It was incredibly root bound when we bought it. I'm actually going to be replacing this, and I'm thinking possibly with the dogwood. And then we've got this smoke bush here. I've been ragging on this smoke bush since we planted on it because it's just looked terrible. This year, though, it's really come into its own. It looks fantastic. I think I'm going to leave it. Really, really love that chartreuse color. One of the things that's quite interesting is that I'm growing some Abelia kaleidoscope as ground cover. So I keep this kind of pruned as a bit of a carpet, and I really enjoy the kind of leaf texture. There's some dicentra back here, and there are also a few other small shrubs that I'm slowly adding in, and I'm slowly turning this into kind of a bluebell area. So I've got some English bluebells that I've planted. The hydrangeas are doing better than they've ever done, but they've been really, really slow to start. And I've got a cutting back here behind the euphorbia of my fuchsia from the front. So this is Sarah Delta, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this section of the garden has changed a lot. You might not recognize this bit. I struggled with this garden for a couple of reasons. So the first reason I struggled with this is because this garden bed, I started in this area and then I've slowly been kind of adding and expanding. And the problem with that sometimes is that you end up with beds that are a little too deep. And this was one of them. So it was too deep. I couldn't weed in it last year. It was really awkward to get to. And I decided to bite the bullet and sacrifice a little bit of growing space for pathways. And that's what I've done earlier this year. I also moved for about the fourth time the placement of these Thuya fire chiefs. I accidentally planted them in a line. It looked terrible. It really bothered me. And I wanted these to be nice, kind of consistent meatballs that just kind of draw your eye through, because I do have a lot of kind of mix and match things. So I wanted a little bit of that structure, and it just wasn't working the way that it was. So in this garden, I've planted loads of seeds. So there's some nigella, some cosmos for the first time. There is some clarkia, a few other bits, cornflowers, and just a few wonderful things. And I'm slowly adding more and more and more in. I've also added in this path just so that I can get to the back. And it's really opened up this espaliered Paul's Scarlet Hawthorn, which I think is going to look absolutely beautiful and stunning when this completely grows in. Isn't that great? I'm probably talking way too much, and I might be boring you. So I am sorry. But I just want to kind of cram in a year's worth of changes into one video, which is hard to do. One of the things that I've also done this year is I've expanded this bed because this bed was not deep enough. So I took some from this side and gave it into here. And one of our neighbors was cutting down their stunningly gorgeous, beautiful cherry tree that must have been 50 years old. And I ended up asking the people that were cutting the tree down if they were going to throw away those logs, and they said they were. And so I was able to get these beautiful kind of cherry tree logs from the neighbor and line one of the borders and this side of the border, and it's absolutely great. No, he is a menace. Okay, he is peeing on my conifers. No. Okay, so I had to get the water hose and hose off my ODI conifer. You can see it's got a little bit of browning on it. Little guy likes to mark his territory. So yeah, so I've just kind of filled this bed in. It's really nice to see the trolleus is finally blooming. So this is something that I planted last year. There's two of them, but only one of the clumps is blooming. And of course, I've got some salvias that have overwintered as well. But again, I just really love these kind of colors here. I just think it's absolutely stunning. The euphorbia is looking pretty good as well. And then this is another rose bush that I've done something a little bit different with. So if you can kind of see just behind the hydrangea quercifolia, what I'm doing is I'm bending the rose canes down to create a dome. So I've done that, and I've also left a few spikes cut short, pruned back as normal, because I just wanted to compare the bud ratio. And what's really interesting is because I've taken this cane and tied it down so it's an arch, I now have so many more buds on it. So I do think that my larger shrub roses, this is 100% how I'm going to be pruning them now, because there's just so much more buds per cane. And you can see some of the digitalis poking through. Excited about that. And there's some tropical canna and also some more of that euphorbia back here. And this grass is Miscanthus zebrinus. This is the larger variety. It's variegated, but it doesn't get its variegation until it gets a bit taller. And then this is a columnar pine. I believe this is Pinus sylvestris. It's got a nice kind of blue color to it, and it looks like it's going to put on a little bit more growth this year. Eventually, it'll be taller than this wonderful pittosporum ball that I've got. And I think I've showed it already, but look how stunning this Paul Scarlet Hawthorn is. Isn't that wonderful? So I can't wait for this to fill in the back of the fence. It really does create a nice focal feature to the entrance of the path. There's some viburnums back here that are about to bloom. The hydrangeas are looking great. Oh, I've got to show you this. Okay. Right. This buddleia, this was not planted. This was a branch that I cut off that was dead for 6 months on the ground. And I hammered it into the ground to stake up this. Do not laugh at my staking. I'm doing what I can. And it started shooting from it. Isn't that wild? And I don't really want this back here, but it's thriving and I just feel so bad. There's a couple of smaller ferns and some geraniums that I planted when this bed was a much smaller. I'm probably going to leave them back for now. And over the years, I'm just going to focus on getting some really nice kind of ground covers through here. And then you can see the yews are looking good. The Pieris japonicus looking pretty good too. Beautiful red color when it comes out, but it's in the middle of going green. The staghorn sumac is looking a lot better this year. Again, look at my staking. It wants to flop over, and I don't want it to flop over, so I'm forcing it to do what I want, which is probably something I'm going to regret later, but I want it to go up and over. It doesn't matter. It's also nice to see this guy back here. So this one is a Rudbeckia. So this one gets about 8 to 9 feet tall. So that's a really nice variety. But I've struggled with the slugs historically. And so it's never been as big as what I thought it could be. And this year it's realizing its full potential. And again, if it just turned this way, you can kind of see just how nice and full everything's going to get. Eventually, it'll be nice and dense, and everything will be covered with plants. If I have my way. I'm really enjoying this teucrium. So this is teucrium. So this is the type of wood sage. It's not edible, but it grows in shade and in sun. The more sun it has, the more kind of electric chartreuse it is. The insects and the bees go crazy for this. They really, really love it. So I've enjoyed growing that. And in here, I've got some more royal wedding poppies, which is just my favorite poppy variety that I've ever seen. And I now have 5 of them. And of course, I've got the bronze fennel. I got it because everyone raves about it, and you know, it is a host plant to certain butterflies and moths. And I thought I'd try it. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. And I'm hoping that this right here is some bronze fennel seedlings, because I do want more of this throughout the garden. It gets probably about this tall, beautiful yellow umbel flowers. And there's a few other bits and pieces in here that don't really matter. And look how good my Omaruka spruce is looking. It's getting its fresh foliage, so it's got a lovely tinge of green. And this is the one that gets all topsy-turvy curvy. So this will get really tall over time. But what I really love about this, and you might not be able to see it, is that the underneath side is this blue silver color. So stunning, absolutely stunning plant. Oops, kicked a log. And I think I haven't explained it already in this video. I might touch on it in a second. If so, I'll just crop this out. But this is where my chicken coop is going to go. So again, kind of a nice feature where a path is terminating. And then this is my half orchard. So this is where all of my kind of fruit trees are going. So I've got a red devil apple tree. So this was a new addition. I've got an Asian pear, another apple tree, a red currant standard, a cherry tree, and there's a few other things that I'll be adding. There are some blueberry bushes underneath and also some honeyberry bushes as well. But I did have my David Olson Old Willerton whole rose here, but I've moved it to the side of the house and made space for my apple tree, and because it was just healed in here temporarily. And I've just filled this bed up with some zinnias, some dahlias, some snapdragons, and then I'll keep adding to this. This was supposed to be a very lovely rosemary hedge. Let me just move so you can see it. And I've done all of these by cuttings. And I don't know if it's because I've lost patience or what. If I left it, would it grow in and be beautiful? Probably. But I think I've decided that I would get more bang for my buck if I planted a dwarf lavender. So what I'm going to be doing is saving up my money this year. And one of my projects for next year will be to replace all of this rosemary. I might move it somewhere else, but I'm going to do all the way from the end, all the way down here, in rows of a dwarf lavender. I think the bees will prefer it, and I think it's something that I can kind of manage from a pruning stroke flower time, because I would and ideally want this rosemary to flower because it's beautiful and the bees love it. But how it grows versus when I want to prune it does not equal flowers. So that's part of the reason why I want to move it, stroke, get rid of it. And then of course this pathway, so I've got these pavers that I had picked up from someone that was throwing them out. So my son and I collected these a few years back, and I've just been using them in various places throughout the garden. And you can see I just have wood mulch going through here that needs topping up. I'm waiting on another delivery of wood chips. But on this side, I'm thinking I will keep these here, because what I like that this does is it stops your eye from going to the end. So it makes this feel like a longer path than it is. But what it also does is it widens your view. So it also makes quite a narrow path feel a little bit wider. And I might at some point replace the bark mulch with a type of small gravel. But this isn't anything that I'm going to be doing relatively soon. I think it's worth touching on this area. You might be going, hey, Maude, what are you doing? That looks terrible. So I'll try to explain what I have in mind. So originally my plan when we moved in, or actually before we moved in, I did a schematic of the garden of what I wanted and where I wanted things to go. And I always knew that I wanted a pond area over here, and I wanted a woodland garden along this kind of back section and back there. And I wanted a chicken coop in the corner, and I was going to put a greenhouse here. And it is a good place for a greenhouse. But with the beehive, I can move them, but I'm coming to the realization that I don't want to. And the reason why I don't want to is because in my mind I'm thinking, where can I put this beehive that is far enough away from all of the neighbors, which is why I've decided it here when I first started last year with beekeeping. And then the other thing that I was thinking of is, well, I need to leave enough space for them, for me to be able to work in the hive. So you take all of these boxes apart and put them back together again. And also you can see the bees aren't really in the garden. So even though there's about 80,000 bees in this hive, 60 to 80,000 bees in this hive, you don't notice them in the garden because they go elsewhere. They go quite far. So that's not really an issue, but it's this flight pattern in, right? Where they're kind of constantly coming in and out. So I've decided that I think I want to leave them here. And that means that I have some opportunities to do some cool planting things here. It could possibly be a fountain. It could be a number of different things. It will be a long time before I do anything, so I've got plenty of time to think about it, which then leads me to this section here. And if I widen my camera angle, that made you dizzy, I'm sorry. I'm gonna widen my camera angle so that you can see. I am thinking, since I am not getting a greenhouse here, I might take the greenhouse and put it from here to where this stack of... This still keeps the greenhouse relatively central. It's a lot bigger than you think because these bricks are in the way. But what this does eat into is my raised bed area. So where I'm planning on growing fruits and vegetables. But it's a fairly big area. Let me just move out of the way. I can see. This is the messy part of my garden. Right? Everyone's like, oh, your garden's so beautiful. This is the other side. Just really quickly, all of these plants here, they're mullein. Or verbascum. I've left them for the bees and for the moth that likes verbascum. And I've also left a whole bunch of Verbena bonariensis there for the pollinators as well, specifically the hawk moths that we get in the garden. So because I'm not planning on using this space for anything, I thought I might as well let the plants that wanted to seed themselves, so there's a hollyhock, just do their thing. And that's what they're doing. So I'm thinking possibly greenhouse on the other side of these bricks, and then this whole area in raised beds, and potentially either some more raised beds up there or a fountain. And this is going to be something that I'll start to kind of work on next year, hopefully. But till then, it's going to look like this. But that's okay, because it's allowed me to kind of sit with this space and then kind of work out how I think I could use it better. But I really would like your thoughts on the potential new arrangement. Because again, imagine there's a pond here, raised beds, you see a lovely little greenhouse here, and then you go up the woodland section, right? As we walk through, then there's a seating area here. And you'll see the peak of the greenhouse just behind those trees there. And that leaves me some space to do something really clever back here. Okay, I honestly don't think I can hold you hostage any longer. If you've stayed through all of this, you deserve a medal, and I can promise you my garden is not worth it. But if you've seen anything that you like, let me know. If there's anything that I've missed that you want me to explain, feel free to reach out. The whole reason why I started this was to just kind of share some of the things that I like and enjoy with people that are very similar, even though they might have different garden styles. And then, you know, I've really enjoyed this because I've learned a lot from a lot of the people that I've met, and I've created some really cool friendships. But I'm going to leave it there. Sorry for this video. Bye.
With honey-colored eyes that cast a spell she recognized. He strutted like a king, tail high and proud. Keith the cat, the chosen one, meowing soft but loud. And Ma just knew right then beneath the petal sky they'd walk this crooked world together till the rivers all ran dry. Oh, Keith and Maude, what a groovy little duo. together like a spell that'll never fall apart. She paints her lids with sky blue dreams. He wears a tassel charm. Together in the daisy fields, he's never come to harm. He climbs up on her shoulder like a prince upon his throne.